Hello, everyone. Happy Monday morning. Busy trading week ahead. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Tony. Hey, Ken. We'll all go exactly what I'm watching for in the NASDAQ, and then you can do the inverse for the SQQQ. Hey, Christoph, thank you. Thank you for everybody in the background who hasn't typed in the comments yet. I see there's a bunch of people watching the stream. Okay, so what do we have going on this week? We've had a multi-day pullback. Yet last Thursday was a bounce, and then Friday was a sell-off, and so far overnight we have sold off a bit, but it's got some waning momentum. We have just a Dallas Fed manufacturing index today, then the bill auctions and the note auction. So very minor day today. We'll be watching the Dallas Fed index for a potential little bounce. But other than that, it's already been super negative. Tomorrow we got durable goods, which is important. The home price index, consumer confidence, and then minors, Richmond Fed and Dallas Fed services index. So, but durable goods will be somewhat important. Also remember, this week is the end of June, which is also the end of a quarter. You're going to get quarterly rebalancing this week. And then we kick off we actually have the following week, we have July 4th holiday on Tuesday, but a lot of people will turn it into an extended long weekend. So Monday will be somewhat interesting with quieter trading potentially. But quarterly rebalancing this week. So we could get some interesting moves coming up. Wednesday, we have Jay Powell speaking. Wednesday and Thursday, Jerome Powell speaking. Don't know what else he can say that's really going to shock the market. But we'll see if he's still stressing a potential rate hike. Remember, we have one rate hike baked in still. So he's talking Wednesday and Thursday. We have initial jobless claims, as always, on Thursday, and continuing jobless claims. Then we get the Q1 GDP numbers, the final numbers for Q1. So this is the final revision. We get the PCE component of that on Thursday. And we also have Bostic speaking. But then Friday is PCE Friday. This is a more important PCE. So we get the core PCE, the headline PCE. We get the final consumer sentiment numbers. We get the final consumer inflation numbers. So Friday is very key, and that's the last trading day of the month. So everything builds into Friday. So not expecting a boring week this week. Then Monday is still as trading as normal, but I think a lot of the bigger players will be out of the office due to Tuesday. See, there's nothing Tuesday. It is a holiday. Everything is closed down. So you'll have some more of the junior traders in charge. Let's see. Good morning, Sterling. Hey, Pep. Gold is still in the downward momentum. Still has not put in a strong bottoming formation. Pretty mixed. Google pulling back, Tesla pulling back, but sort of a quiet mixed market today. Energy and let's do a refresh on this. Yeah, energy and utilities still leading. Comm services with Google is leading the pull back right now, but overall sort of a muted Monday morning. We still have from the Fed Watch one more hike priced in, and then one cut in next January. So the hike and then the pause is priced in through December, and then one cut in January is the way it's looking now. We have to see if that shifts with Powell speaking on Wednesday and Thursday. Fear, greed, back from extreme greed to right at the cusp of greed and extreme greed. So we've pulled back a bit, but nothing significant yet. In terms of earnings, we got Carnival today. I mean, earnings season is wound down. So we got Walgreens tomorrow before the open, General Mills Wednesday, Micron. A lot of people will be following Micron after the close on Wednesday. So if you're in the chip sector, would not ignore Wednesday after the close. Thursday, not much. Rite Aid, McCormick Spices. After close, Nike. Nike will be interesting, and then Constellation Brands on Friday. But you see, very quiet earnings week, and nothing that's going to be overall market moving. The biggest thing that has the potential for me for to be overall market moving could be if Micron reported something really out of line that affects the chips, either positive or negative. So that's the biggest thing I'll be watching this week in terms of earnings. Right now, we're trading 43.84. We still have that very steep slope of gamma. 43.71 is where it flips to negative. So technically, we're in positive gamma. We also still have the big gamma wall at 4,400. So we've lost some of the call gamma and call delta because now there's some of this put delta at 4,400 is kicked in, but we're still in positive gamma mode, which means dealers have to sell into the rally. So on any rally, 4,400 is very key. Now there is some call and put gamma building to the downside, but the major level now starts getting below about 43.50, where we could get some more put gamma and call gamma definitely falling off. So that's on any sell-off. I'm watching that area very strongly. As the year-end target raised, who raised it to 4,300? Which firm that matters? So we had the multi-day pullback. We have daily cycles at the bottom, which is why I'm starting to watch for a potential bounce. The key area, the first key area is if we close above 4,400. So far, the overnight high was 4,402. And then the next closing basis, if we're going to get a stronger bounce, I need to see a close above 44.24. Key support. With cycles at the bottom, no, we're not overbought yet. If we sell off, the next major support area would be the bottom of the daily rotation zone, about 43.44 to 43.50 is a major support area. And that 43.50 is going to be pretty key. It would take a lot of downside momentum this week, especially with going into quarter end, to really break this 43.45 area and then do the gap fill that's left behind. But that's still a potential to the downside. Remember, the weekly rotation zone, which is not reconnected for a few weeks, is roughly 43.25 now, and that would take a lot of pressure. And we have cycles rolling over on the weeklies. Okay? Cycles rolling over on the weeklies, but with the dailies up, we can have still multiple weeks of down. But daily cycles get that bottom area, so I'm watching for the bounce, and this would be the definition of the secondary reaction now. We started a reaction on Thursday, did not follow through, so there's still a lot of weakness. Now going to be watching. Do we have a short-term bottoming pattern? Not yet. I'll be watching for, if we do pull back in the open, maybe a potential little double bottom into the open. Okay, we are trading against some very key support broken overnight. If we do trade down in the open, I'm not targeting 43.50 yet. I would be targeting about 43.65 as key support. But remember, we're roughly in that same position. If we look at the NASDAQ is the first thing I'm looking for strength. Why? You see there's been a lot of buying pressure. Anywhere from about 15,000 to about 14,965. You see Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If we look at the shorter term charts, you can see all the buying pressure in here. So even on a rollover into the open, it really needs to take out these lows before I'm at all interested on more downside in the NASDAQ in the short term. Okay, so that would be getting below 14,965 area, 962 area. That was a very key level. So even any pullback on the open, I'm watching for support to come in there, unless we break that 14,962 with momentum. And then if that happened, the 14,900 and 14,836 would be the next target. So Ken, you were asking about the SQQQs, which would then be bouncing. That's the only way I'd start watching for a short-term bounce in those, not a long-term bounce in those. I'd be waiting with the SQQs on the secondary reaction. I'm actually focused as long as this 14,962 area does not break and we find support in there. I'm watching for the bounce in the NASDAQ. And then we could be setting up a more significant topping pattern. We have weekly cycles rolling over. We're a long way from the bottom, and we've only had one red week. This is the first wet red week since really back in April. So overall, watching for more pullback, not watching for aggressive pullback unless that these lows are taken out from last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this low area. And then it would still be watching that rotation zone, not even targeting the gap fill. I hope that's clear. Dow, same thing. Daily cycles at the bottom. Weekly cycles still have a long way to roll over. So Dow, though, keep coming back nearly the gap fill. I will be watching early this week for if we have any weakness for the gap fill in the Dow. 33,865 and then key support coming in about 33,820. But that's very major support area for the Dow. So on any weakness, that's where I'm watching support in the Dow and then a potential bounce play in the Dow also. The Russell, we had the double top last Friday, finished the double top. So that pattern is done. Also today, testing the 50, bouncing back to a key support area. The Russell's been the weakness, but now back into a key support area. If the Russell sells off and gets below about 1825, the next key, very major support area is about 1817 to 1815. 1815 being a multi-level breakout level, and the 200. Remember, the 200 is not a brick wall, it is an area. So this just reinforces this area. So if the Russell, that's where I'm watching for a bottoming pattern if we don't establish one this morning with this pre-market price action. The VIX, slightly elevated this morning, a slight pullback, but the only way I start getting really concerned about more downside price action is if the NASDAQ breaks those key levels I talked about and the VIX starts moving above 15 with momentum. Other than that, watching for those bottoming patterns. DAX, we've had the multi-day pullback close on Friday, finally below the short-term 62.5. Still, this is getting overdone with the cycles at the bottom, nearly oversold. We'll be watching for the bottoming pattern in the DAX too. If the DAX sells off, 15,764 puts it in the completion of the 62.5 rule. But that does not have to happen before a potential bounce, especially with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 day pullback so far. Notes, nothing. Still in consolidation. By the way, the 10-2s, trying to put in some support between that 87.5 and 100. So I'm still watching for something to see if we get any bounce, especially with Powell talking this week, to put in at least a short-term bottom in there, but nothing yet. Dollar index on Friday triggered this little mini double bottom, but closed back below the rotation zone after hitting the first target. So Again, this would be super aggressive for the dollar right now, but that's the only bullish pattern. If on a pullback, key support now coming in at between the peak last Tuesday and the candle bodies at about 102.06 is the key support. So anywhere in here, I'm watching to see if that holds. If 102.06 though breaks, I'm watching then for the triple bottom. Crude still caught in consolidation. There's a lot of support here. A lot of support around the 67.50. If that breaks, not necessarily today, but if that breaks with momentum, we could see a pretty quick downside rush. Other than that, there's not a fantastic setup just yet, because any close, it would be technically a percent beat buy on a close today above Friday's high, but we are in consolidation, so it would only be a small upwards test on a very minor pattern. Natty Gas watching for the pullback now to the daily rotation zone after a break above this in short term. Gold, as Pep noted, is a slight gap up, but still below significant resistance and the rotation zone. So, unless we can get a key close back above about 1960, still will be watching for another rollover play in gold. We held so far on Friday this key low cluster area that I did talk about. Yen, not much. Keeping an eye to see if we get a more significant topping pattern in here, but still the trend is up. The next key target is 144.35. Euro, we had the pullback. Remember, this was not a double top, and now watching for a bounce in the secondary reaction to see if we form a more substantial topping pattern in the euro. The pound has not triggered the double top. It's confirmed it, but not triggered it. Still need a daily close below 126.91. So it is confirmed with Friday's trading, but it has not officially triggered. Bitcoin, still trading with that interesting price. A lot of wash trading last week coming in. But finally hitting the harmonic area last week. So going to be seeing if we get a topping pattern or another breakout higher. Tesla, and we'll look at the spiders and the Qs. Tesla, I am watching for, we have a 4-hour head and shoulder minor pattern. Now it is against the daily rotation zone, so it's of the lower probability variety, but there is still a gap down by the first target. So you see shoulder, head. It's hard to spot on the daily, but you can see it on the 4-hour. It still would need a close below about 248 to trigger. That's the only thing I'm watching to the downside in Tesla. NVIDIA, still no major topping pattern holding the daily rotation zone, so still watching for another potential push higher. The spiders, 433.02, where it's trading pre-market. Major support is coming in about 430.25, and if that's broken, 428.25. This is a very key support zone. If it does technically close above Friday's high, it would be a very aggressive percent beat buy, and that would then have me really watching for that secondary reaction. So keeping that in mind. But so I'm going to be focused on that 435 on any rally. Again, trading 433 now, but 435 will be a very key level. And before, you can see here on that 4-hour, that's this, it was support, gapped below, but you see key 4-hour close on it, and then another gap below with a close on it and a reversal there. So this 434.80 to 435 is very key on any rally. All right. And no, this is not a double bottom because it's not reversing enough of the move, but that's 434.80 to 435 area. The Qs. Last close was 362.54. We're trading 362.70. So on any pressure into the open, we'll be watching for the gap fill. Pretty much you see Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, same as the futures. You have a lot of buying pressure right around this 360.75 area. To about the major low is 360.22. The only way I get bearish, just as similar as the NASDAQ, is if we break that 360.22 with momentum. Otherwise, that is key support. You see it here. Support from middle of June, 13th and 14th. And then last week, so very major support area. You can spot it very easily on the Qs. What would be the target if that broke? 356.20. All right. The key area I'm watching on a closing basis for a stronger secondary reaction is about 366. Then I'll be watching for that push higher. Again, would not be surprised to see a push higher going into quarter end. That does not mean it has to happen today. So, if you're still here, Ken, just to look at the SQQQs, since I'm watching for that bounce play, this on a rollover play, then I'd be watching for a more significant bottoming pattern in here. A potential longer term bottoming pattern. Just come up to the rotation zone. I'm watching for that rotation back down. Cycles are at the top on the SQQQ. And so that's why I would not be aggressive to the upside yet. So far, it's just been a correction into the rotation zone. And we need to watch for that secondary reaction. All right. Hey, Rich. Thanks. They're I don't really pay attention to Sogen. But it's interesting. Thank you for putting in there to put the price target. So they're late to the party, bringing it to 4,300. Good morning, Jacob. You typed hello and it never sent. Well, you still got it in. Hey, Connor. So NAS and ES forming bullish on the flag. It could be a minor flagging pattern. Hold on. That was the week. Yeah, I mean, I'm also watching this key little trend line. So you do have this extended flagging pattern. Here's what Rich is watching. I'm just showing the flag pattern here. It is a valid flagging pattern, and it lines up with that trend line I already had drawn. So, and you see here on the 4-hour, 44.05. I already talked about 4,400 being key, so that would be the early warning that the flagging pattern is starting to turn up. And on the NASDAQ, it's a very flat. I'm more watching this, still this 15,100 area first, and then 15,233, because it's such a flat key support area. And on the closing basis, this is 15,230. So this is not a great flag. It's stronger in the S&P, but this is more like a big horizontal support base with the key support coming in at that 1962 to 19, or I mean 19. We're not there yet. 14,962 to about 15,000 is major support, with the key resistance being this 15,230 area. That's what I'm watching for on any bounce to close above it, which is not, we didn't even close above it on last Thursday. So that's to resume. And then it would be a close above 15,283. And then I'd start targeting the highs back from Friday going into month end. All right. We've beat this one to death. So that should at least prepare us for another busy trading week. I hope everyone has a fantastic trading day, and I shall talk to you later. Thank you for tuning in. Bye for now.